Welcome to Talk Travel with Heather Tate, North Mississippi's podcast for savvy travelers. Talk Travel with Heather Tate is a weekly podcast that airs every Monday on the Shark 102.3 FM radio station based in Ripley, Mississippi, and is then released as a podcast. Travel advisor and travel enthusiast Heather Tate of Whimsical Destinations gives listeners expert travel tips curated through the years of personal and professional experience. By clicking subscribe, you'll have a new travel tip to add to your collection delivered to your podcast library every Monday. Talk Travel with Heather Tate is brought to you by Sun Bear Studio. Sun Bear Studio is a boutique recording studio in the heart of Ripley, Mississippi. When you record with us at Sun Bear Studio, we can mix, master, register, and publish your music, your podcast, or your family story. Email us when you're ready at sunbear@jc.media.
This program was recorded at Sun Bear Studio in Ripley, Mississippi.
Good morning, Northeast Mississippi travelers. This is Heather with Talk Travel with Heather Tate, and I am so excited to share my adventures and tried and true tips with you. Whether you're a seasoned traveler, a hopeful traveler, or currently an armchair traveler, meaning you're going to follow along with us from home for now. This is our 196th episode of Talk Travel with Heather Tate, and this week I'm going to take you to Dominica, land of whales and waterfalls, a real-life Fern Gully. Now, I was most excited about our final port on our cruise, and I know you're probably excited because you've been listening to our ports on our 7-night cruise from San Juan since January. I know you have, and you're like, we have finally reached the last port. I spreaded them out a little bit so you didn't have to do them back to back to back, but this is the one I was most excited for. So if you notice the pep in my voice today, it's because I cannot wait to share this island with you. So it's the volcanic island of Dominica, not to be confused with the Dominican Republic, which more people know about, more people have been to, but this is Dominica, known as the Nature Island. Now, if Antigua is known as the island of 365 beaches, which we talked about a few weeks ago, then Dominica is known as the land of 365 rivers. So they have a river for every day of the year. We even ate lunch beside one of these rivers at a local restaurant with views of waterfalls. We had a private tour, and I would say this was an amazing investment for this day. Instead of doing an excursion through the cruise line, for this experience, I thought, okay, how are we going to make the most of our one day? Because Dominica was where I was ready to invest in my excursion because I wanted to see it all and do it all because I had never been. Logan had never been. None of us had ever been. So this is one that I was really excited to get to explore. And I will tell you, for my taste of Dominica on that one day, I will go back and I will stay on this island. I've already looked at different resorts that are family friendly, and I already have a list of all the things that I want to do when I go back. But to me, it is unlike any other island in the Caribbean I have ever been to. And you know, if you've listened to our podcast and our radio show for the past few years, I've been to a lot of islands in the Caribbean, and this one is truly unique. After a while, some of them you're like, oh, well, this island reminds me of this one, and this island reminds me of this one. I can't really tell you another island that Dominica truly reminds me of. A little bit of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. You know, you've got a little bit of that. You know, it is a rainforest. So, I mean, you could say maybe there's a little bit Hawaii or maybe Costa Rica, like kind of that vibe. But it is its own special place. Lush rainforest, misty mountains that are actually volcanoes. So here's what's really interesting. It has the highest concentration of volcanoes in the world, I think based on, land area. 9 active volcanoes. So everywhere you look, when you think it's just a mountain, it's not just a mountain, it's a volcano. So I think that is fascinating. It also has the world's second largest boiling lake. So think lots of hot springs here. But they have lots of vents. So you're thinking, okay, a lot of volcanoes, small area, hot springs. Is this going to be dangerous? Is it going to blow its top at any moment? But I think because of all of the natural vents, where it's like it doesn't feel the need to build up pressure, and erupt, because it's constantly, right, letting off steam. So you don't have the issue of it building up and then, blowing its top, the volcanoes, even though you're surrounded by them. So it's the world's second largest boiling lake that by next year will be much easier to access because they have a new gondola system that we got to see being built. So I believe it is a Swiss company that's there right now, and they're putting in the groundwork to have this gondola that's going to go across the island to the boiling lake. So instead of having to hike for 6 or 8 hours to get there and back, where you have to have a guide who knows exactly where they're going and where it's safe and what to do, you'll be able to see it from above, and that's going to be incredible. So we had a 2-part tour. We did a water and land tour. So we started off with so it was called Dominica water tours, and it wasn't just a water tour, but I knew that we had to get on the water because you know what Dominica is known for? It's residents, year-round residents, the sperm whales. They have a huge concentration of sperm whales. That's where they live, full-time residents. They don't just migrate and live there part of the time. They are there year-round. So if you go, you are really likely to get to see the sperm whales. And so that's part of what we wanted to do. Now, they told us we had a 95% chance of getting to see them and hear them, but they couldn't 100% guarantee because it's not like we're at SeaWorld, right? If they're there, they were going to try to find them so we can get close to them and see them. Maybe they would breach, maybe they would flip a tail, but, they could not promise. And so we were okay with that. Well, what we didn't realize is there's a couple of reasons why these sperm whales love Dominica. For one, the water's very deep around the island. So we were on a little boat, which was very nice. It was a speedboat. It was just our family of 4, and we had a captain and we had a tour guide with us. So it was a private tour. And we found out pretty quickly that the water goes from like 1,000 feet deep to 3,000 feet deep in that area. So Christian had a panic moment for a little bit, and I have some pictures that I'm going to post on our Facebook group, Heather and Logan Tate, Whimsical Destinations. But I'm like, stay in the middle of the boat. We're going to see them. And we're like, what if we get capsized? What if this? And they're like, you're going to be safe. We have life jackets. And I'm like, okay, a life jacket, 1,000 to 2,000 foot deep water. It was a little nerve-wracking going with kids. But when I say it was an incredible experience, we got to see multiple whales. I lost count of how many whales we got to see. We could hear them, like they knew where they were going. And there were other boats there. There were other boats that were out. There was actually a Zodiac boat. And when I say these people were packed on this boat like sardines to see the whales, whereas we had our own private boat. We had sodas. We had fruit juice. We had a peanut rum punch. Never have I had peanut rum punch. It was delicious. We also had pineapple rum punch. So it was, in and of itself, the water part of the tour, which was, I believe it was 2.5 hours. It would have been worth the entire day. That was just our day getting started. So it did rain a little bit, but not long. And we steered away from the rain, got to see the whales. You can swim or snorkel with the sperm whales. I don't know if that's something I'm brave enough to do. It was amazing to see people doing that and jumping in and snorkeling with them. They are huge creatures. So I don't know if that's something I feel comfortable with. I barely felt comfortable being in a small boat where I knew if they wanted to, they could have tipped it over, but they didn't. So I don't know about swimming with them. And I don't think the boys ever have a desire to swim with them, but they're happy they got to see them. Another thing that we did, though, is we had the land experience. So once we got back to shore, then the land part was going to take place. We drove up the mountainside, saw the rainforest. When I say Fern Gully came to mind, I felt like I was in a living Fern Gully. Waterfalls everywhere you looked, just off the side of the mountain. Ferns just growing off the side of the mountain. I believe they have over 200 types of birds. So if you are a bird watcher, bird lover, This place is for you if you're a nature lover, if you love sustainable travel. When I say that, they're on a quest to be the world's first climate resilient nation. They're on the forefront on the fight against climate change. So they want to make sure that everything that they do is not going to negatively impact the environment. So they're really careful about every aspect of life on Dominica. The people were friendly. English is the major language there, their national language, so we had no issues there with communication. So many beautiful things to see. We saw a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Driving up to the very top, we went to the tallest part of the island, and you couldn't see a whole lot at that point because it was very foggy and it was a little rainy, but we could see in patches, and it was just beautiful. And so part of the day, we just wanted to see the nature. Like, I wanted to be in the rainforest, so I expected there to be rain, and there was some rain. But then we had lunch by the river. We saw more waterfalls. We went to a hot springs. We got to see the gondola being built. We went to a cave, like where they have a canyon. And canyoning, which I never even heard of as an activity, is huge in Dominica. That's where you explore the caves and the rivers by rope, by foot, and by water. So apparently it's one of the most popular places in the world to go canyoning. There's another place where you can go snorkeling. This is on my list for next time. And it's called Champagne Reef. And it is a geothermal hot springs underwater where when you're snorkeling, it's like there's bubbles all around you, like in the hot springs. I told you there was like natural vents everywhere. So that's something I want to do for sure. It is also home to the Caribbean's first long-distance hiking trail. It takes around 2 weeks to complete. Now, I don't know, as much as I enjoy hiking, I am a day hiker. I am not a backpacker. I'm not carrying my tent with me kind of experience, nature lover, adventurer. But I feel like this island then can reach all levels. Whether you have an appreciation for nature, but you want to have your resort or your hotel to sleep in at night, or you like to be off the grid and want to camp and want to have your own tent or want to have your own guide, or anything in between, you can experience that here. So that's what I think was amazing. Christopher Columbus actually named Dominica after Domingo, which means Sunday. So I would get Dominica and Dominican Republic kind of confused at first, but after you've been, there's no comparison. There's no way you would confuse the two after having experienced them. Everywhere I looked that day, there were rainbows. I mean, it almost looked, I said at one point, like a Lisa Franks painting. There were rainbows running into rainbows, running into rainbows. Didn't look real. Everywhere I looked, I saw rainbows. The only other place I've seen rainbows like that was in Ireland. So tons of rainbows. So when I say that this island is for your nature lover, it really is. So some people say, oh, I would really love to go to the Caribbean, but my significant other, they just don't like lying on the beach. That's not their thing. They're like, they want to do things. Dominica is a great option. For those who want to see mountains, volcanoes, whales, waterfalls, rivers, rainbows, canyoning, all the things, I think Dominica is a wonderful option. My family loved it. We agreed unanimously that it was our very favorite port of the entire trip. And I hope now you're interested in finding out more. That's all the time we have for this week's episode of Talk Travel with Heather Tate. Life is a great adventure. It is what you make it. So take that trip, make those memories. You won't regret it.
This show is made possible by JC Media, LLC in Ripley, Mississippi. JC Media owns the Shark 102.3 Classic Rock FM radio station where the show is hosted. Subscribe to our podcast on your favorite app or stream episodes online at shark1023.com/podcasts. We also have an email in which you can share your feedback. That email is theshark1023@gmail.com.